Welcome to The Path is Always Evolving, a podcast for healing humans and curious souls. Hosted by energy healer. Welcome to The Path is Always Evolving, a podcast for healing humans and curious souls. Hosted by energy healer Tenya Eichenberg and mind body specialist Eva Zobian-Wolf. This show blends science and spirit to explore real life healing, self-care, and personal transformation. No fluff, no fixing, just grounded conversations that meet you where you are. Because healing isn't linear, but the path, it's always evolving. Hello, welcome. I'm Eva Zobian-Wolf. This is The Path is Always Evolving, and I am joined by my fearless co-host, Tenya Eichenberg.
Hello.
Today, we are going to be we're continuing the series of the chakras. And today, we're going to focus on the sacral chakra.
Yeah.
So if this is a new concept for you, please feel free to go back and visit the last couple episodes that we did. This is a somewhere between 8, 9, and 12 or more series, and we're playing this one by ear and seeing what naturally happens as we have these conversations about what is the chakra, how does it show up in our life, and what are some things that you can do to bring more balance into your body, your mind, and your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I've noticed that because I think it's our way of being able to help people relate. We bring up a lot of our own stuff into these episodes, into these stories, because I think they're relatable.
Absolutely.
And this chakra, um, I think it's, we both, had to heal through, we've had to heal all of our chakras and move through them all. But the second chakra, I think, is incredibly big for women, for women. I mean, men definitely have things that come up related to the sacral chakra, but the sacral chakra is, well, explain.
Okay, so the sacral chakra is that area below the belly button. It's an energetic area there. So it's not a physical area, and yet it is, because the way that the energy is distributed, there's a neuroendocrine connection with our internal physiology. So if there's an imbalance in the energy, it gets displayed in the connections in the way that the different organs and the different structures in that area, the way that they behave, the way that they interact, the way that they function.
Yeah.
And so for women, that's a big portion of where our female reproductive
Yeah.
organs are. And that's one of the ways that I always refer to the sacral chakra. It's the seat of anything that you give birth to. So it can be an actual child, but it's also for entrepreneurs, for coaches, for authors, artists. It's also the seat of your creativity. And one way to know if things are balanced in your energy centers is to look at what are the attributes of that particular energy center. And so if you're a writer and you're experiencing writer's block, hey, guess which chakra you should spend some time working with.
Right.
And we're going to talk a lot about the aspects of the chakra, and also what are the practices, what are the things that you can do to bring balance into that particular energy. And you brought up a really good point, Tenya, when you said that this is a really big one for women, because honestly, the first 3 chakras are the really big physical chakras, but they're also they're really huge in terms of their importance on our emotional development, and also these are the spaces that as life is lifing,
Mm-hmm.
these are the areas where it's going to show up, because these are the areas that are so like the first chakra was very much about security. um this particular chakra, the sacral chakra, um is all about movement and connection, and
Mm-hmm.
it has to do with our emotional identity.
Yeah.
It's about self gratification, right? So the shadow of this is guilt. And what do women feel guilty about?
What do we not feel guilty about?
That's exactly what was going through my head. I'm like, the list of what we don't feel guilty about is probably going to
Right.
be a lot freaking shorter than the list of what we do feel guilty about.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. And that is what I would say is probably we talked a little bit about deficiency and excess in the last episode. And as since I brought up like, the second chakra, more like feminine energy based, real quick, the root chakra is probably more masculine energy based because it's that safety, that foundation. And so, yeah, now we come into that, and for men, that their root chakra may be a little more in excess because of them having to suppress their emotions. But so, the sacral chakra for, for women is typically in excess.
And you bring up a good point, because what are men, remember what, as we were growing up, what were men not told? What were men told not to do?
Cry.
To show their emotions.
Yeah.
And so what did they do? They repressed their emotions for so
Yeah.
long, and it's going to show up in their sacral chakra
Right.
behavior, right? So
Right.
if you're a man listening to this, we are sending you love, kindness, compassion, and asking you to move your energy as it feels comfortable to you. And if you're a woman, we're going to send you the same thing, because
Right.
it shows up for all of us in different ways. So this is a
Oh,
big, that was a big,
it
you
was a
did the
big
whole.
thumbs down.
So this is the I feel. This is a
Yeah.
very fluid energetic movement. So do you feel that you're able to just flow with the different issues of life? Are you able to flow easily with changes? Do you feel that you can just, are you easygoing and go with the flow type of person, or is it more like you're the beaver and you're creating the dam and you're like, I'll be
Right.
damned if I'm going to let this flow?
Right.
And quite frankly, those are, your root chakra affects this one. If you don't feel safe, then your ability to feel and to be fluid is affected.
Yeah.
So they're all interconnected in that way. But this is going to show up for you in terms of when this is balanced, right? Then you have that ability to feel and take pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's balanced, the way that you're going to see these things is your movement, your body movement is going to be more fluid, because
Mm-hmm.
you're in touch with your body, right?
Right.
Your emotional intelligence is there. And you hear, I love that we're talking about emotional intelligence so much more in terms of being aware of your emotions and being able to articulate your emotions, being able to say, whoa, that was, oh, that didn't come out right, right? That's
Right.
emotional intelligence, to be
Yeah.
able to have that accountability and responsibility. But it's
That's a big
also,
one. That accountability and responsibility.
and that is a whole chakra. There's a lot
Yeah.
there. There's a lot
Yeah.
there. It has to do with all the chakras. It is not just a second chakra,
Right.
but this is where we feel and we develop that. I recognized that I felt this,
Yeah.
and we're becoming more in tune. So this is again, because it's a one of the primary chakras, we want to spend some time here, and it's interconnected with our throat chakra, because if we
Mm-hmm.
feel, then we feel that we can give voice to it. We feel we can't give voice to it. So
Right.
there's a big connection there.
Right.
um our ability to experience pleasure, As a nurse, I will say that one of the biggest things that challenges, at least, and I'm speaking as a nurse and from the nurse perspective, because that's my experience. So when other professions have this as well too. It's just I can only speak from this professional
Hmm.
experience.
Right.
Um, the ability to have time off, to take pleasure in having time off and doing things for ourselves, going and getting a massage, going and getting a pedicure. There's a lot of times where, like I went and did those things and I took pleasure in that moment, but I also felt guilty for taking that time and that
Hmm.
moment to do something for myself. So this is where that balance comes into play because a really good example of this is, when was the last time you ate a cookie? And what happened when you ate a cookie?
Hmm.
Did you sit and enjoy and savor and say that was a really good cookie?
Hmm.
Or did you quick eat the cookie because you didn't want anybody to see you?
Right.
Or you're just mindlessly eating the cookie and not savoring the cookie? And then what happened afterwards? Did you try to validate why you deserved the cookie, or did you say, and then this, and the cookie can be all kinds of things, right? Because it'll be your time off, the new car, the pedicure, the new purse that you buy, the bike that you get, like
Taking a
whatever it
rest.
is. Yeah, everything in life, like,
Yeah.
do you get it, or do you take that moment to go for a walk and enjoy the walk and then try to validate it?
Right.
Why did you deserve that moment of joy?
Yeah.
So those are the things that we're talking about. So um, nurturing ourselves and others is part of this chakra, and having healthy boundaries. So here's another question, and give me an honest answer.
You want me to answer you? You want the community to answer you?
Both. So
Okay.
here's
All
the
right.
here's
Bring
the
it on.
question, and here's the honest, I'd like to invite the honest answer.
I'll give you an answer without thinking.
Okay. Is no a complete sentence?
Yes.
Okay. So, but how long has it taken you to get to that point?
Um, quite, gosh, I mean, I've only been on my healing journey for like the last 5 years on just to kind of be aware. And so it probably took 3 years to get to the point where I even tried to just say no.
And how long had you been on this earth before you decided to go on that healing journey and create healthy
46
boundaries?
years. 46 years.
Mhm. So this chakra is all about healthy boundaries,
Yeah.
and it's our ability to be able to say no and accept, receive no.
No. Right. Right. That is probably harder, I think, for people to do than it is to say no, because we want what we want, right? And a lot of people think that when they're setting healthy boundaries, that it is about them setting the healthy boundaries, but it's also about being able to accept other people's boundaries.
Right. So as a chronic people pleaser, because that was, I
Hmm.
was the first child, I was
Hmm.
the first child, the first grandchild, the first female. Actually, I was the only female um for quite a while.
Yeah.
Um but and there were only female um grandchildren for a while. And I didn't have a brother. So but oldest child, first grandchild on both sides, and daughter of immigrant parents. So, and Gen X.
Yeah.
So my people pleasing was, like,
Right. In excess.
astronomical. This massively shows up So if any of that resonates with you and you're thinking, I say I say yes before even looking at my calendar. I say yes even when I don't want to. I say yes because I feel that that's my duty and my responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I say yes even though I don't even have the skills to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I say yes because I don't want to see the other person upset or angry or frustrated, or I don't want them to not like me.
Right.
If any of those felt like they resonated with you, that is a sacral chakra issue.
Mm-hmm.
And having a healthy boundary, and Brene Brown is fantastic for this. Her book, Braving the Wilderness. I actually have been reading The Gifts of Imperfection and Daring Greatly recently, but her book, Braving the Wilderness, is absolutely fantastic. And she does it all through the lens of the social work and her research, but it is absolutely root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus chakra.
Mm-hmm.
All of her books talk about, they don't talk about the chakras, but they're talking about the qualities, because she talks about guilt, shame, fear, power. And so
So much is clearing through all of this.
in this, what she talks about is the people that live most wholeheartedly have the most boundaries.
Mm-hmm. They do.
And being able to work through sacral chakra imbalances helps us to heal whatever imbalances there are, whether,
Mm-hmm.
and remember, we're talking about this in terms of energy work and also the physical manifestations and the mental emotional components as well
Right.
too. So while we can speak on the energetic portions, and talk about, and I, as a yoga therapist, I go through this with my clients through the body and through the energetic components, the mental emotional components, that is your own work to do, or to work with your mental health professional,
Mm-hmm.
if you have one, or a coach or mentor, or however it is that you work through those challenges, work
Right.
through, and I say challenges, but I mean work through processing. um
What did you do to start to be able to have healthy boundaries? What was your practice? And then I'll tell you what my practice was.
Initially, I started with the energy. I did a lot of meditation and Reiki, really focusing in on root chakra, sacral chakra. And then, quite honestly, the way that I navigated this stuff was going through yoga teacher training, because that was where I really became so much more aware of the sensations in my body. I started
Mhm.
releasing some of that energy. But the big thing for me was being able to be aware of the sensations in my body, and then starting to notice the patterns. And so yoga teacher training is so much more than just learning how to teach yoga. It's
Mhm.
about how to learn how to live yoga. And I honestly, again, this is one of those things where I still think that absolutely everybody should go through something like yoga teacher training, because it's so much more about your own personal journey.
Mhm.
And then from there, if you teach it, you can bring it, extrapolate it out into whatever it is, the work that you do
Right.
in the world. It happens in your interactions. But for me, um I had to start with the energy, because this was such a largely undeveloped and imbalanced area in my body. So this
Mhm.
is the developmental stage of this, is 6 months to 2 years. Um, and again, going back to first child, first female,
Mhm.
first grandchild, child of immigrant parents, there was a lot of responsibilities and roles placed on me that weren't mine,
Hmm.
right? Like I was
Yeah.
babysitting when I was 8, 9 years old.
Yeah. Same. I think I was
Um,
10 when I started babysitting, but still, yeah.
you know, doing things around the house because that was my responsibility.
Right.
Um, and having to translate English to Hungarian in different scenarios,
Hmm.
having to be the this is how it's done in the United States guide in certain aspects.
Right.
Um, there was a lot that was heaped, um, and then also there's a lot of old world mentality that I didn't get parents that were hippies in the 60s and 70s. I did not get those parents. Um, and so they didn't grow up
Yeah.
in the United States. They came here a year before I was born.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of Eastern European mentality that was in my upbringing. And so there was a lot of your job in life, your role in life are these things.
Hmm.
Um, and there's a lot of unlearning that had to happen where it's like, no, I was a kid and I should have been allowed to be a kid. And as an adult, you know, go figure, I went into the medicine where what was I doing? I was taking care of other people, where I felt the role and my responsibility was to keep people alive. And that's the source of the burnout. So if you haven't heard my story before, I was in healthcare for 20 over 20 years, working in the ICU for 10 years, and then burnt out because I had a lot of guilt over what I didn't have control over.
Hmm.
And but I still carried that guilt, and I did not carry it well. And it showed up in how I interacted with my family, how I interacted with my kids. They did not get the happy-go-lucky, fluid, flexible yoga therapist as a mom. They got the ultra controlling snaps at any moment, um, and walking on eggshells, especially when she's tired and cranky, type mom. And so I'm having to go back and rekindle those relationships with my kids because they didn't get mom that was in the healing journey. They got mom that was working 12, 14, 16-hour shifts in the hospital, working nights.
Right.
And so it shows up in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
um, and deficiency and excess, the ways that you can see how is it showing up for you, looking, is there somewhere where there's tightness in your body, there's rigidity in your body, in the way that your body moves, and also in your attitude, the way that you're
Hmm.
looking out at life. Like it's very black and white, it's this way or that way, right? It's very polarized.
Hmm.
um you have a difficult relationship with the idea of sex, right? And thinking that sex is not a natural part of our life and our expression of
Hmm.
um our relationships.
Yeah.
um if you find it challenging to connect socially with people, if you're constantly saying, I don't deserve to have nice things, or I don't deserve to have, when it comes to things that bring you joy and you incredibly make you happy, if you're finding ways to talk yourself out of those things, that's
Hmm.
a sacral chakra issue.
Right.
Excessive boundaries, where you're very rigid in your boundaries in terms of what you allow and what you don't allow, or having very rigid parameters on boundaries. fear of fear of change. I don't want anything to change. I want everything to be exactly the way it was. We've been doing this for 20, 30 years.
Right.
If it was good enough, this shows up like in nursing. This shows up in that eat your young mentality. Nurses eat their young, right? Or why should you have a better, more nurturing environment as a baby nurse? That's not the experience that I
Right.
have. Why should you get that experience?
I had, so real quick, my when the government had to go back to work, go back into the office, I had told my dad that, I was mad that I was losing my coworker. And he was like, "Well, I had to go to work every day. Why can't he?" It was that same mentality of like, why do you get to have it better than I did?
And that is absolutely
Yeah.
a sacral chakra issue
Yep.
because it brings up something in us, and that's an opportunity to explore, right? Those are
Hmm.
moments for us to have develop that awareness and have that ability to be able to look, and that's emotional intelligence again, right?
Hmm.
So um
Yep.
part of this is not just recognizing this in yourself, but also recognizing this in other people. So if you're having that conversation, like with you're having that conversation with your dad and he brings that up, is there anything that you can do to heal his sacral chakra in that moment to have him have a different thought process?
Oh, I can heal what's within me.
Yes.
I
And
can
so that's
heal
the thing
what's
is when we
what's within
recognize that.
and know that either we can't have those kinds of conversations because he may not be able to change his perspective, or keep trying to have those conversations on a light level, not like, "Hey, dad," pointing fingers, going, "Why don't you want better for us?" Eh, Not doing that, but just like, "Hey, like I get your point of view, but you know, don't you want better for us? Like if it still works and you still get the job done, why does it matter if you're in the office or not?"
Yes, and an important component. Like how do you come at it from a circular way instead of
Right.
abruptly
Right.
um challenging it? Because if you abruptly challenge it, that's a root chakra issue.
Yeah.
You just challenged, they don't feel safe,
Right.
so they're
You
gonna
challenge their foundation.
so they're gonna back away.
Yeah.
And once you have this understanding of the chakras, it helps you in these moments to say, okay, let me take a pause,
Right.
and how can I introduce the topic, or is it worth my time and effort to introduce the topic?
Right.
Are they in a space to accept it? And for me, that's a big component of how going through yoga therapy, all the many hours of yoga therapy really helped me in my personal interactions with
Hmm.
people, is because now not only am I seeing my own patterns, but I'm starting to see other people's patterns. And again, not in a way of judging, but just simply, okay,
Right.
is this a space where I can have this conversation, or do I need to just go, you know what, you do you,
Right.
and recognizing that this type of conversation doesn't happen here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now talking about the excess, because again, remember when we're having imbalances in this energies, we can also have excess. So this
Right.
is the opposite, where we may see a lot of sexual acting out or sex addiction, pleasure addiction, right? So think retail therapy
Hmm.
or um, excessively large emotions, right? So um, again, in the nurse world, the adrenaline junkies, right?
Hmm. Yep.
So, and even not in the nurse world, but anywhere. So the adrenaline junkies, where they thrive on high emotional areas, right?
Hmm.
So if you have that friend that's like, oh my gosh, my life is always so chaotic, or maybe that's you, right? looking at, are you seeking high
Right.
energy environments,
Right.
or creating high energy environments? And again, I
Yeah,
say
I
this,
have a couple friends who are always busy, always busy doing nothing.
and you know, I've definitely I've worked with clients where um there's always a chaos
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
environment.
yeah.
And again, this came back to inability to create boundaries,
Right.
because um during yoga classes, during yoga private yoga sessions, um inability to put their phone on do not disturb
Yeah,
during the session, because being unavailable for any phone call felt so incredibly uncomfortable.
yeah.
And so, you know, these are the ways that we pay attention to how is it showing up in our life. You know, again, that's poor boundaries. So, um, poor boundaries can also be in being able to unable to set boundaries, but also being unable to see boundaries, right?
Hmm.
So, um, overly giving advice is a poor boundary, right? Did the person ask for
That
advice?
is that is one of my traits that I am always working on is I am a giver of advice.
Because it's that wanting to
Yeah.
fix.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
instead, how do we let a person go? And you know, as a parent, oh man, my bestie provided the absolute best advice on this. And when she said this, I was just like, oh, like um because I was lamenting on something, and she said, oh, so your child is not making the decisions that you would make because you, of your age, with all of your life experience and your knowledge from those experiences, have a different perspective, have
Mm.
more information, more knowledge that you've
Yeah.
gained through your years of being here, and you're upset because your child, who doesn't have those years, doesn't have those experiences, and doesn't have that knowledge gained through those experiences, is making a different decision. And what you're wanting to do is to rob your child of the ability to have an experience that would give them that knowledge.
Right. Yeah.
And when she said that, all of a sudden I was just like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
thought I was a really good mom and a caring and loving mom, and now you said it that way, and all of a sudden I'm going,
I've started when I start to impose my suggestions on my kids, I will realize that I've done it. I'm like, but you know what? This is not my life. And I'm sorry that that I'm giving you these suggestions. You do you.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Brene, not Brene Brown. There's another book that I read, and she talked about her mom's saying, and it was phenomenal. I was listening to the audio version of this book, and as I was driving, and when this got said, I had to pull over because I think I hyperventilated for a moment, um, because it was just such a stark difference in terms of how I was parented and how I parented. My husband's really good at this. He is a big natural consequences
Mhm.
um,
So is my husband.
advocate.
Yeah.
And because that's not how I was raised by, you know, like they wanted to control absolutely
Yeah.
every single aspect of my
Yeah.
life. I got better, but I still wasn't anywhere near the level of my husband. So he did balance me out quite a bit. But in this book, she said, my mom had this saying, and every time we would have a question or a conundrum and we would ask, what should we do? Her response was, whatever decision you make is the right one for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that that response means that whatever decision you make, there's going to there's three possible outcomes.
Right.
It's going to move you forward, it's going to move you backwards, or it's going to do nothing.
Right.
Either one of those three outcomes is an opportunity for you to learn from the decision that you made.
Yep.
And that was a big shift for me when it took me away from, okay, so any decision that I make, it's not a win or a failure, it's not a mistake or a good decision, but rather, what did I learn from that decision?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in my business, if I make a decision to use a particular platform, did it help me? Did it bring me more clients? Did it give me more visibility? Was it easier to use? Was it more economical?
Mm-hmm.
Or did I pick a platform that was really challenging to learn how to use? It was really expensive. It didn't bring me more clients. And then I switched to a different platform, and that one was much more easier. Well, no, that was horrible English. That
Much more
was much
easier.
easier to use. Um, and the skills that I learned in the first platform made the learning of the next platform so much easier. So was the
Right.
previous platform, was that a mistake, or was it a lesson
Yeah.
in what not to do, but also provided me with tools and resources to make using this platform that much easier?
Right. Right. Absolutely. I
And
think
all
every decision we make is for our highest and best in some way.
right.
It is.
And so in that comparison, there were some aspects that were positive,
Mm-hmm.
and there were some aspects that were learning aspects, like
Right.
they're like the taxes for learning something, right?
Right.
So was that one more expensive? Yes. Did it provide some benefits? Yes. So there's some good points and there's some bad points to it. And the thing is going back to that whole thing of boundaries and invasion, it's
Mm-hmm.
that sense of being able to release attachment. And if we are feeling guilty of anything, like we're
Mm-hmm.
feeling guilty because our kid experienced hardship because they got dumped,
Yeah.
or they lost their job, or whatever it is, and we feel guilty because they're like, oh, did I fail as a parent? Did I not provide them with enough guidance and information? Right, like I feel guilty that you're having to navigate something challenging in life.
Yeah.
Right, that has nothing to do with them, it has to do with us.
Mm-hmm.
Or if a friend comes to us and they say, hey, I really need help moving, and you're just like, oh, sorry, I'm busy that day, I can't do it, but we feel guilty because we feel like we're supposed to be there.
Right. Yeah.
It shows up in little ways and big ways, and
Yeah.
how do we navigate that? By attending to this energy.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple
And
of the other excess that I wanted to point out was emotional dependency.
mm, yes.
That is definitely one that showed up in my life, both someone being emotional dependent on me and me being emotionally dependent on somebody. It was my mom being emotionally dependent on me and me being emotionally dependent on my husband, because that's what I was taught.
Hmm.
And so that is, it's only been, I mean, I wish I could go back and give my kids a more emotionally stable mom. They will tell you that they saw me crying, but they didn't see me get angry a whole lot because I didn't know how to be angry. And I think there's still times where today I still don't know how to be angry because I never learned how to have healthy anger?
I find that interesting because I can very easily be angry. My ability to cry in front of a person is a big challenge for me. And so we talked about this before. My name um as a grandparent is Gamma.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were creating our grandparent names, um Granny was taken. I didn't want to be Grandma. I didn't want to be Nana. And I'm like, I want something different because, that's just
Yeah.
me. I'm always wanting to go the different route. And I thought, well, Gamma. I'm like, I really like Gamma. And a friend was saying, oh, that's because of gamma rays, right? Like it's really scientific. And my husband just started laughing. He goes, that's not it at all. He's like, you identify with the Incredible Hulk, and gamma is just a way for you
Mm-hmm.
to recognize that you sometimes Hulk out. And I was like,
Yeah.
yep, yep,
Yeah.
because it's really easy for me to go to anger. It's not easy for me to cry and let go
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
the environment that I grew up in, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting how it shows up very
Yeah.
differently for different people.
For everybody. Absolutely. Absolutely. So the physical malfunctions of this chakra, we have disorders of the reproductive organs, um, infertility is a huge one.
Infertility, but also endometriosis, cysts. Um,
PCOS.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so, but it's also the urinary system and also the spleen that are connected with it. But yeah, any type of menstrual difficulties, because
Yeah.
again, that's that
Menstrual
area.
period cramps.
Mm-hmm.
I if I man, I wish that I had we are not supposed to have painful periods. Our bodies are meant to do this. They are
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to be painful. They are painful because of all of the stuck energy that we have in that chakra. So, you know, I just recently in reading this book was able to understand that. And I now working with a couple of my clients specifically on their chakra systems, like getting their chakra system in alignment because they have such painful monthly cycles.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at all of the areas that are connected in emotional, mental, and physical areas that are connected with this, um, if if all of those other areas you're going, yeah, me too, yeah, me too, yeah, me too, well then yeah, you're going to see some physical
Right.
manifestations of it as well, right? And
Yep.
if you're like, well, I didn't have period pain, okay, then look at the other areas in physically in that, right? So low back pain, knee problems, really tight hips, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lack of flexibility in your
Yep.
body.
Yep.
Or look at your appetite, your relationship with food, sex, your life, right?
Mhm.
Looking at um, how, how well do you feel, right? Is there a dampening of feelings and emotions? And again, we're looking at this through the lens of energy,
Right.
and the physical body. So we're really focusing there. This is a way for you to explore these things. And so, again, if and it shows up also in your creativity, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you're an artist, or you knit, you crochet, you sew, you paint, uh, whatever, if you are a gardener, right? Looking
Mm-hmm.
at the ways that creativity shows up in your life, how do you problem solve?
Mm-hmm.
These are the areas where it shows up, and our ability to be able to take moments to rest or experience joy,
Mm-hmm.
to smile, to laugh. Those are big areas where we can see how balanced is our life. And then physically looking at that area underneath the belly button and down, how is that showing up in your body? And this is why yoga teachers everywhere refer to the hips as the junk drawer of the body,
Right.
because it is absolutely related to, and your hip muscles go up. They
Mm-hmm.
don't, they're not just at the
Right.
actual space of where the hip bones are, but they go up a little bit as well too. So it's that whole
Right.
area of the root and the sacral chakras, where the hips are, the group of the hip muscles are.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll see it in your ability to be able to be fluid in your
Right.
movement, to be flexible in that area.
Right.
uh, and starting to just pay attention, right? You don't have to do this all overnight. You don't have to do this,
Right.
your tight muscles
Right.
and your patterns in your behavior and in your thoughts. These weren't created overnight. Giving yourself time and space to simply breathe and
Yeah.
start to develop that awareness, start to develop that curiosity
Yeah.
of, what does this look like for me? So if you are working with a mental health professional, starting the conversation there and also adding in movement in some way, and potentially working with an energy person and an energy practitioner
Well, I was
to
going to
help
bring,
that facilitate that
yeah,
process.
I was going to bring that up because those areas is where you're going to hold a lot of energy related to the mother and father wound, to the parental wound. It's where you're going to have a lot of inherited issues from your parents that did not work out their own stuff. And it can go back. I have found things within myself and clients that have gone back more than 30 generations that has not been, hasn't been very much, but that has not been resolved or dealt with. And you can carry those within your sacral chakra and your root chakra, and the three, all
Absolutely.
three lower, the three lower chakras, but particularly that womb space,
Hmm.
for men and women.
Oh, absolutely.
Men have a
Absolutely.
womb space as well. It doesn't, it doesn't grow a child, but they do have that womb space.
Oh, yeah. And it shows up again, it shows up in their movement, their
Yeah,
sensations, their
yeah,
emotions, their sexuality.
yeah.
And when I say sexuality, it shows up in their relationship with their sexuality,
Right.
and desires, their needs, and their ability to give and receive pleasure.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of ways that it shows up. Um, so in our next episode, we're going to deep dive into the sacral chakra just a tiny bit more. That one may be a little bit shorter, and just looking at what are the things that you can do to
Hmm.
bring more balance into the sacral chakras. And if you have any questions on this, feel free to comment below, send us a message, and
We'll do another episode to answer all these questions because
yes.
obviously these are all being recorded kind of same day before they get posted. So we'll come back and we'll do a Q&A on any questions that have come up underneath of any of these videos.
Yes, I love that idea. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to add into this area?
No, I would, I think I'm going to try to develop, I want to develop like a PDF that we can put into each of these episodes that they can download, um, to kind of, you know, checklist of what they can do to help
Absolutely. Oh, that's a great
balance
idea.
their chakras.
Yeah.
So hopefully by the time these posts we have those in there. If not, then we'll add them back in even after we post, but keep coming back and checking. Um for that PDF. I think that having something you guys can take with you, print out, keep on your phone, whatever you want to do,
Journal
would be
with it.
helpful. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So thank you all so much for being here with us today. And we appreciate you. As you can see here, we are navigating this journey on our own as well.
Yeah.
And so remember, this is not a destination. This is a process that we are going through with you. And there's no one right way to do it. So giving
Right.
yourself some kindness, some love, some compassion, and not judging yourself, not comparing yourself to how somebody else goes through this journey.
Yep.
You are exactly where you need to be right now.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Take care.